Hey everyone, it's 10 Types, and recently, as in like a month ago or so, rotation happened in the Pokemon TCG, and it's been really exciting and I think really cool. And there have been a lot of cards that have been removed from the game, some that have been added, and the game's changed some. It's not like a complete overhaul, but it still is really cool. But obviously, losing cards, it can be a little annoying, especially when there are some cards that are really, really cool and healthy for the game. Healthy for the game is obviously kind of subjective, but there are some cards that I think are pretty big losses with rotation. These are the five that I think are the biggest that we really want to see reprinted. They could be literally reprinted, or could be not literally reprinted. I'll talk about them as we get into that, but like Pokemon with similar ideas. The first one is actually an honorable mention, which is Manaphy. Manaphy has the ability Wave Veil, often referred to just as bench barrier or bench protection, and it stops damage done to your benched Pokemon from your opponent's Pokemon. It doesn't stop damage counters. There is Rabsca in standard, but it really should be on a basic. However, Manaphy is essentially being reprinted with the new Shaman. I'll actually talk about Shaman real quickly here from the new expansion. It's Heatwave Arena in Japan. Internationally, it will be in the Destined Rival set, which is we know most of the cards in that. I don't know exactly how many we're missing, but Shaman is a really big card from this set. It does have 80 HP, which is worse, and also only prevents damage done to your bench non-rule box Pokemon, so will not be protecting any of your EXs, although like half of those are Terras anyway, so they're protected, so it's almost as good of an ability, and it's really there to protect the single prizers like the Adreepis, Charmanders, and any other random single prizers that are either in that are previous evolutions to EXs or just in single prize decks. So it's something that's really important. Yes, it does shut down some decks like almost completely, but a lot of those decks aren't super fun to play against. And also, if you do want to play spread, there are plenty of good spread decks that, well, there's some. There's Dragon Ball, notably, that is good against this, that just goes through it. And there's also Frostlass, which is like a different type of spread deck, but it also does kind of go through Shaman. Though, again, it's a little different. And also, there is Uxie. Uxie will actually be stopped by Jirachi. There are some, I'm sure, other Pokemon like Uxie as well. That's one that I like. It's not amazing, but it does go through this. And so Shaman is a card that is the replacement for Manaphy, and I'm really happy that Shaman is coming out. The next card we have, this is two cards, Regidrago Restart and Ditto. These are pretty different cards, certainly in terms of how good they are. Ditto was played some. Apparently people played in Cloth. I didn't. I actually don't know why it was played in Cloth, to be honest. But yeah, as I said, I didn't do that. This is not obviously the Ditto that's in Standard, which is good. This is the Ditto that just rotated from Pokemon Go with only an ability, no attacks, which is kind of crazy. Not something you see like ever, but it's here. And so it says this Pokemon can use the attacks of any basic Pokemon in your discard pile except for Pokemon with a rule box. And then you still need the necessary energy. Regidrago Restart is a bit different with Apex Dragon. For Grass, Fire, you choose a Dragon Pokemon in your discard and use choose an attack from one of those Pokemon and use it as this attack. So these are two copying attacks. The main difference, well, I don't know, I guess the main difference is that the one's much better than the other. With Regidrago Restart being a very top deck, I definitely don't think we want a card quite as strong, but Regidrago Restart was like good for maybe like a third of the time it was in Standard, something like that. So Regidrago Restart throughout the course of Standard was certainly fine and balance-wise, but certainly on the quite strong end by the time it was rotating. But anyways, Regidrago does not copy the attack cost versus Ditto does. So that's a big difference. But attack copying, I was going to say abilities are interesting. Regidrago is an attack. I like them more as abilities like the Ditto, except Ditto is kind of bad. There's a lot of awkward things, notably I think it would be cool if it copied evolutions, and we don't really have copying effects in the game now. These two rotated there, I'm sure are some. Oh, there's Slowking. Slowking's cool. Slowking is really awkward and clunky. It is also an attack. It's not an ability. So Slowking is like an option like that. There's also Enzoroark EX. I'm sure I'm forgetting some others. Enzoroark EX is really limited though. Like Regidrago Restart is decently limited, being only Dragon Pokemon. Ditto also only copies basic non-rule box Pokemon, which are like the weakest Pokemon in the game, so it's not really copying that many good attacks, but still is an interesting card. If you hadn't played it, I mean, you can play it in Live Expanded, and I'm sure it's still pretty fun there. It's probably actually much more fun, but there's the Mewtwo and Mew Tag Team GX, one of my favorite cards of all time. I guess I didn't play it like that much, but it was cool, and it essentially is like Ditto, except it copies any stage and their rule box Pokemon GXs and EXs specifically. The middle EXs, the capital EXs. So something that could copy maybe the new EXs, just like Mewtwo and Mew Tag Team GX, could be interesting. And I copied them from the bench or from the discard. So if they're on the discard, you could copy Stage 2s on a basic. It was a really strong card, but it did give up 3 prizes. I imagine we are going to see a Mega Mewtwo card, so there's a chance we could get that there, but the copying thing's more from Mew, so I don't know if we'll get it. I mean, I imagine we unfortunately probably won't, but it's something that is really fun and creates a really interesting deck, and decks for interesting games that are like different every time you play them. Notably, they're kind of like the Terra Box deck, I guess. That's an example of a deck with a lot of different attacking options, except you need the energy on all these different Pokemon. But if you could copy these Pokemon, you could have it all in one. Obviously, a bunch of them really utilize their abilities, so it's kind of weird. But that idea I think is really fun. I'm just hearing if you think how many people. I actually don't know how much people like these effects. I always think that people just love them, but I know I love them, and the people I talk to also enjoy them. But I'm sure there are people who don't as well, and I'm sure the people who I've heard people not be fans of Regidrago V-Star at all. But if they literally reprinted it now, it would also be okay because there's Liz Clefairy X as a counter card. That's not the best. But anyways, the next one we have here is Hisuian Heavy Ball. This is one I want to see back in the game. I want to see this one. I obviously want to see all these back in the game, but I want to see this one literally reprinted forever. I think this card's super awesome, and I've heard positive things about it, not necessarily always overwhelmingly positive. It's a card that's like cool. It's not the biggest impact on games usually, but it can be really important. And it's a card that says you look at your face down prizes, which is really nice, letting you look at them. There's also the item card Town Map in expanded. Well, this is also an expanded, I guess. But Town Map flips over your prizes. It creates some weird interactions. So this is something that Pokemon's like gotten a little more careful with, I think, flipping over prizes. But anyways, this does not flip them over. You get to look at them. They do end up getting shuffled, but you know what your prizes are, which means that you don't need to check by searching through a deck, which is really annoying, especially if you aren't playing in something that automatically sorts it like live. Then it becomes pretty tedious and honestly just not fun to do, and it like slows things down a lot if you want to do that. So it like really messes with the pace of the game. Obviously you don't always have Hisuian Heavy Ball, but it is nice to be able to see your prizes. And then it lets you, what it actually does is you get a basic Pokemon out of there, put it into your hand, and then Hisuian Heavy Ball goes back to keep the same number of prizes there, or it doesn't do anything and you just look at your prizes. But the most important cards that you want to get out of your prizes generally are going to be basic Pokemon. Yes, there are some important trainers and I guess occasionally important evolutions. I mean, if you're playing like Charizard and you prize all your Charizards, that's really bad, but this isn't like that's prizing a bunch of cards, right? So this is more so looking for one-ofs, and it's really interesting in a deck. I just talked about Terra Box. This would be really good there, and it lets you do some really interesting things as almost like a ball search card, a Pokemon search card. It's not searching your deck, but it is searching your prizes. There's a good chance if you're playing a deck with this card, you're probably playing a lot of basics, and there's a good chance you'll be able to get one as well. So if you have a bad hand, it can help you there. It's not the quality of a Nest Ball or an Ultra Ball or a Buddy Buddy Poffin, but it is still an interesting option. Overall, this is my favorite version of a prize interacting card. I also like Gladion. Gladion's a supporter that can get any card there, which is obviously stronger, but on a supporter. So realistically weaker. Hisuian Heavy Ball is like pretty insane. I don't remember if it was in the top 10 cards rotated when I made that list with Uncommon Fossil on the podcast, but it was really close. It's a really good card and one that I mean, if we don't see stuff to get cards to get stuff out of the prizes, I'll be pretty sad because it's really, really awesome. There is an exchange ticket, I think, but I cannot spell. Okay, redeemable ticket. Okay, I've not played this card, so I didn't know the name of it. It's like okay, but it's pretty weak for getting stuff out of your prizes. I mean, it's good at getting them out. It gets literally everything out, and it gets guaranteed out, but it puts random stuff in, and it doesn't really do most of the stuff that Hisuian Heavy Ball does. So, and definitely not a great replacement there. Next one we have is Bibarel. This is a card that is a Pokemon. It's a stage 1. I was saying like it doesn't need to be this exact card, but there are a few cards in this mold, and they're like stage 1s that draw so you have 5 in hand, and they also have 2 retreat. That's pretty common. I think the other one's Octillery. There might be some others. There's the Claydol, which is Claydol's older. Well, okay, Claydol's actually technically newer than the Octillery because it was reprinted in Celebrations, but this is kind of similar, letting you just like draw cards. It's kind of like Bibarel and Skwovet kind of put together. But these abilities are pretty nice as solid Stage 1 engines. We don't really have any great Stage 1 engines right now, to be honest. We have some okay ones. We have Dracloak, which is decent. Obviously, really only played in Dragapult, but not a bad engine. We also have Zoroark EX, which is okay, but there are issues there. Being a two-prizer isn't great, and it's kind of a weird Pokemon. And then you have um, something like the Revavroom as well as Iono's Kilowattrel. Iono's Kilowattrel also kind of weird. A trainer's Pokemon just like Zoroark EX, but and then the Revavroom is more similar to Bibarel, but that requires an energy and it's not consistent. Bibarel's really consistent. That's what like makes it good. You'll get cards in your hand and then you kind of do what you can with those cards. It's very different than Pidgeot EX, which searches everything. Same thing with Noctowl. You're searching for exactly what you want. The Dunsparce might be kind of similar to Bibarel, but they're not. It's not consistent. The Dunsparce is something you can use once and then it goes away and then you can get it back and you can use it again, but you don't always have it. So they're pretty different. And I think abilities like this, I actually don't like playing with them to be that much, to be honest. I like more explosive engines. I like stuff like Noctowl. I really like Noctowl. And then I also kind of like Pidgeot EX. That's something I enjoy. And I also like the ones that are discard draw two, some probably more than Bibarel. But Bibarel's a really solid engine card, and we're just missing this staple Stage 1 engine that can go into decks to make him a little more consistent. And Bibarel, again, did work well with Skwovet, which is a card that I think Skwovet's pretty fun. But anyways, Bibarel, or again, similar cards. It could even be like a little different, but not like a Stage 2, right? We have the Quaquaval? I don't know how you're supposed to say it. The Quaquaval from, I believe, yeah, Surging Sparks. Again, this is kind of like Claydol, but you put a card from your hand on the bottom of your deck and draw till you have 5. It's decent. I mean, it's better than Bibarel objectively, the ability, the draw power of it, but it also is on Stage 2, right? So that's pretty bad. There is also Tinkaton, which is Disco 1, Draw 3, which is a similar power level to Bibarel, I think. Probably a little bit better, but again, on a Stage 2. So we just don't have these great engines, and something like Curly or Liepard could be symbolically similar here as like one of the many engines that rotated, but I think Bibarel is the best version of that and best example. The other type of engine card, or like support Pokemon, it's not a full engine, is something like Lumineon V. Lumineon V has the ability on play, it's Luminescine, you search your deck for any supporter. I said on play, it's on play to your bench from your hand, so not from Nest Ball. And then, yeah, you get a supporter. There are other cards kind of like this that we've seen in the past, like Dedenne GX, Crobat V, Shaman EX, etc., that are on play something. They're draw. Those are all draw. Lumineon V is search for a supporter, which then is used probably for draw or for gust. We saw Tapu Lele GX as well, very similar to Lumineon V, as well as Jirachi EX, all the same type of ability. We haven't really seen, I guess the Pokemon that's like that is Squawkabilly EX from Scarlet and Violet, which works better with Nest Ball. Lumineon V had Quick Ball, which got the Pokemon to your hand, so there are some differences there. But these on-play abilities are really cool because you need to decide when to use them, when not to use them, and they're really strong. I actually would rather get Dedenne GX back. I think Dedenne GX is a really awesome Pokemon. It's a discard your hand draw 6, so it's like essentially a research on play. But Lumineon V can, get any supporter. It's a really cool card and was played a bunch. I don't think it was all-time great, but I think it was pretty good. Actually, I'm interested in hearing down below if you think Lumineon V is an all-time great card to you. Obviously, that's like super subjective. Everyone has different like rankings for that. I thought it when I saw it, I was like, oh, this is going to be an all-time great the first time I saw it. Then I was like, oh, well, I think this is kind of mediocre, and I'm not sure where I settle on that. But anyways, the card is really cool. The attack's also kind of cool, returning to your deck on attacking. Then you can go ahead and use the ability again, and so that's kind of fun. And that was used a bunch with Lugia as well, or used some with Lugia. I will also mention that it was kind of cool with that Lugia thing with Double Turbo Energy, and some of these different cards can be quite good with that. I don't think Double Turbo Energy should necessarily come back because I mean, I think some time without it could be cool with effects like that. I think they could literally reprint it or double colorless energy as well. Double colorless is double turbo, but I mean, there's no damage reduction, and that's obviously better, but it's not like drastically better. I guess I don't know the math super well though on like what Terapagos. It's better certainly, and then I don't know what else actually uses it off the top of my head that like didn't rotate. I guess cloth as well, and certainly 20 extra damage is nice. But anyways, I think they could reprint either, but I don't think we necessarily need that. But the card that I do think they need to reprint, maybe not directly, but at least very similarly, is Lost Vacuum. You can only use this if you put another card from your hand into the Lost Zone. I was originally gonna say I want to see the Lost Zone back. I think the Lost Zone is kind of fun, so I would not hate this card being reprinted exactly, but the Lost Zone is presumably not coming back for, if I had to guess, like probably like 10 years, to be honest. No, probably 5 to 10 years. I don't know. It might come back. It'll probably come back at some random point in the future, but not for a while. Certainly not soon, but I wouldn't hate it if it came back. And then we have the actual thing that it does, though, which is you Lost Zone a tool, a stadium, or a tool her stadium in play. The tool from any Pokemon, yours or your opponent's. So it's obviously generally there for your opponent. Same thing for the stadium, but it can get rid of your own. Which there have been times when I have done this. It's kind of weird, but it can be really good as well. Overall, though, Lost Vacuum is a really solid card, kind of in a similar vein to Sue and Heavy Ball, due to the fact that it was like good, but not insanely good or game shaping, but still a card that was played a lot. Again, probably not all-time great card. I don't like it quite as much as Hisuian Heavy Ball, which is, as I said, a card that I just want forever. I don't think we need Lost Vacuum forever. There have also been Field Blower and Tool Scrapper, because right now we don't have a way to get rid of I don't think we have a way to get rid of stadiums or tools that is like particularly good. There is Jamming Tower, which is kind of similar, but it's a stadium. It's not an item. Lost Vacuum, I think, is a really, really good card to have in the game, or something like it, like Field Blower. I think Field Blower coming back could be fine, or just half a Field Blower, which is just like Lost Vacuum, except you don't Lost Zone the card from your hand, and the card goes to the discard instead of the Lost Zone. But tools just kind of stick on the board, and I mean, tools are fun. I don't really have an issue with that, but I think we need ways to get rid of them at some point. But I wanted to give a shout out to JB Mods and Ada Bingler for joining as members to my YouTube channel. You can do that. You can get some extra stuff there. But I hope you enjoyed. Consider liking. That really helps out. And subscribing to the channel as well. But I hope you enjoyed. And as always, I'm excited to see you in the next video.